Hi, it's Amanda DeVito Parle. Welcome to my podcast, At the Kitchen Table, where we will guide, inspire, and connect.
Hi, Chuck.
Hi, Amanda.
How are you?
Great.
Good. So thank you for coming. I started down this adventure of taking the smartest people I know, interviewing them, and trying to just inspire people, be the guide that, has come naturally to me in this real estate path, and then to interview people who can do the same thing. And so we can put it together. And it's funny, I actually started down this path because I'd have conversations like our breakfast. And then Lana, my assistant, would say to me, well, I wish we could have recorded that. Like, you should have heard yourself in there. Or like, I'll be on the phone with a client and she'll say, I wish I had that. And so anyway, so I came to a place where I decided I just wanted to bring some of the most influential, smartest, my mentors, people I cared about, people I thought had something interesting to say to this table at a podcast called At the Kitchen Table. And so we're doing that and just compiling some of this so that we can help people connect and get people educated and teach and grow and inspire. So that's why I'm here. So my guest today is Chuck Ochsner, and he's the broker owner of RE/MAX Alliance, or at least that's how I know you, although you are a man of many hats and many pursuits. And so I wanted to just spend some time getting to know you a little bit. So what is your job title and maybe your proudest job title, perhaps?
Friend.
Yeah.
I don't like to be identified as an employer. You take on responsibilities, but when you have people that you work with, and are working, especially in the brokerage business, I'm more accountable to all of our agents than they are to me.
But you do have job titles. And so some of those are, you owned the franchise.
Yes.
And that was a fun pursuit for you for a time. You were very good at that. In fact, so much so that I think RE/MAX Alliance, there was a time when RE/MAX Alliance was the largest RE/MAX franchise globally. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, there was.
You have been on my hot list because, as you know, you've been such a wonderful mentor to me and such a leader in our company and a friend to my dad and my family. And so you're somebody that I've looked up to for a very long time. And I just want to share this sort of interesting dynamic that you and I have on my podcast and just get an opportunity to interview you and learn a little from you and to memorialize some of how special you've been to this company and in my life. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so if I can take you back, all the way back, how did you come to real estate, or how did this start? How young were you? You got a long story to get to here, but the point is how did it start? Where do you feel like it the spark ignited?
Well, it really goes back to when I was probably about 16, and I'm an old farm boy, and I was working on the farm with my dad, and I told him that I really didn't think that I wanted to do this as a career. And he says, well, if you think you can do something else better, maybe you should get a job in the summer in school instead of working on the farm and see what it's all about. So I got a job at a construction site, home builder in Greeley, John R.P. Wheeler, who used to be president of CAR and very involved in real estate, and he was kind of a mentor after I got involved to me because he did real estate brokerage, he did building homes, building commercial properties, very talented real estate success. And I worked at this construction site and not knowing where that was headed. And I used to see the realtors come by in their cars with a two-way radio back then. And they were dressed up and looked nice and take the client through the houses. And I'd observe that because I was sweeping out the houses and doing menial jobs. And I thought, that might be fun. So I asked somebody, what it's all about. They said, yeah, I got to get a real estate license. And so I got a real estate license.
Do you remember what year that was?
That would have been in 1961.
Okay.
And so I got a real estate license and was going later on to college and was in my second year, and I started working part-time in the real estate business, and I then moved to Denver with a friend of mine, and we went to college down in Denver, and I was trying to sell real estate at the same time.
What'd your dad think of all that?
Well, he didn't know if I would make it, and I didn't know if I would make it either, because I had no sphere of influence, and I was selling for Duncan and Duncan Realtors and off of Jewel and Sheridan here in Denver. And one of the mortgage originators said, Chuck, you could be a salesman. You don't have the sphere. What you really should do, there's an opening at Wood Brothers Homes for a new home salesman. And I went and applied, and I got that job, and I was with Wood Brothers for 7 years, and turned out to be one of their top salesmen, and I was blessed with a great product and great subdivisions that I worked in throughout that period of time. And then I went with one of the construction superintendents who had bought a little piece of ground in Arvada, 74th and Wadsworth, right across from Indian Tree. And we built some homes together there, and that was the first opportunity that I got, into the construction business. And it's since then I've been involved in both, the construction, land developments, et cetera, and brokerage. I love all of them. That's the wonderful thing I think about real estate and the business there. There's so many different ways you can go and still be successful.
So if I can take you back to Wheeler, the first guy who gave you the sweeping out the houses job in Greeley,
Yep.
or somebody like him in your life, what did those people say to you that maybe you feel like you remember or that structurally stuck with you?
I don't know if I remember anything that they really said to me, but by example, you would try to emulate successful people.
Yes.
That's what this world is all about. I mean, if we learn anything, and take advantage of the wisdom of others and apply it to yourself and what you are doing. And the old adage about you got to fall in love with your work first to be successful. And I think that's very true. And I've always loved being around people and real estate and the chase. It is a chase to do well in the real estate business, and I'm so proud of you, and I've watched you grow, and of course knew your dad, before he got in the real estate business, and so I've been blessed to have many talented people around me where I've learned from them, and I've had good people working with me. And I believe that, a group of people feeding off of each other's talent are definitely the energy that you get from a group of people all on the chase to do the right thing and be successful is powerful.
Yeah, I'm going to put a pin in that because I want to come back and talk to you about the successful brokerage that you subsequently went on to build. But I'm curious, from 1961 to today, what do you think, we've been seeing just a lot of industry changes, and of course there's been many what felt like huge, substantial shifts in the way real estate was practiced in 5 decades. But I wonder, what do you think along the way was some of the most impactful changes that you saw in real estate? What was some of the stuff that just changed the way business was done?
Well, the real estate industry has been up and down throughout my career.
And will be forever, yeah.
And will be. And that's part of the fact that, you have to kind of go with the flow. You might not change your way of doing business, but others and other circumstances in the economy and high interest rates will change the business for you.
That's right.
So we, there again, as real estate professionals, have had to adapt to all these different things that were dealt in order to continue to succeed. And I think the thing we all must, learn is when there's ups, there's downs, and it will come back up. Mm-hmm. And I think now's a perfect example of that. There's such a pent-up demand for real estate, specifically residential homes. And, everything is supply and demand.
So, things like the internet, websites, National Association of Realtors, continuing education, all those things, the way marketing was done, real estate signage, the cell phone, think of the way the business has actually evolved, changed. Fax machines, being able to attach documents to email, like all of that had to change in your career. And I just think about, I'm curious if you could distill down some of the best parts of the practice before technology was so big. What were some of those? What is some of the stuff that, like, if I had to go back to basics today to sort of capture some of the fundamentals of the business that I think maybe we're missing today because of the speed of which we're moving or the pace for which the industry has taken, that could shed a little light on some of the interpersonal relationships in the business and some of that stuff. Do you remember how some of that felt back then before things were so fast?
A lot has changed. There's no question. And a lot has stayed the same because it's still a personal business. Mm-hmm. It's so personalized, and people that you're dealing with know when you are sincere and you want to really help them accomplish their dreams.
Yeah.
And that hasn't changed, and I don't think will change. There's a lot of things, yet on the forefront that's going to be changing more, but realtors and real estate professionals doing it right will still be successful, and the personal involvement that you need in buying a house, it's different than so many other industries. That personalized attention with both the buyer and consulting the seller. You're not just a salesman. You're a consultant. You're a friend. You're a confidant. You learn about their family, their divorces, their children, and you have to take all of that into consideration, and have some true empathy towards others where they know, if you're wanting to help them, and they're going to be loyal to you throughout the transaction.
So I'm going to step you into the next part here, but I want you to go back and tell me about Woodside Realty and the evolution into the RE/MAX brand. So tell me about your first brokerage, and how did you come to open a brokerage, and who was influential in guiding you through some of that, and then how did you come to be a RE/MAX broker?
Well, as I said, I got into the home building business, and sometimes the Lord works in mysterious ways, and high interest rates, and changed that, where I had to get out of the home building business, and was blessed with timing because I had a subdivision. I ran out of the subdivision just before rates went high, and so I got into the brokerage business with another company, and they made me sales manager, and we grew and we were successful, and there were some things with our values that didn't mesh, and so I walked away. Mm-hmm. And, doors open, doors close, and so I had an opportunity and an invitation by another broker to join their little real estate company, and there were 6 or 7 people, and it was called Woodside Realty, and next thing I know, I was a part of that, and we grew it. There was 12 of us in Arvada. We had about the same market share after we grew to about 50 or 60 agents as the RE/MAX offices in the area, with quite a few more agents. And so that's when a merger of sorts was available through RE/MAX. There was the broker owner really did not want to continue the business, and I knew that the concept of the maximum commission, which RE/MAX had embraced.
Go back and talk about that. So how was brokerage different then, and how was RE/MAX doing it?
Up to then, it was typically that the broker would get 60% or 50%, and the agent would get 40% or 50%, depending on which brokerage. And they took a big chunk of that.
Yep.
And along comes RE/MAX and some other brands that went to 100% or 95.5, and the larger successful brokerages throughout the United States were gradually in a situation where their top agents knew that they could conduct business with their sphere of influence at a maximum commission type of company, and therein, RE/MAX grew by leaps and bounds, and good agents were leaving these other companies, and a lot of these companies still exist, but they had to adapt and change their commission structure, just like anything. When you find yourself, not doing well, you have to adapt or get out, and a lot of other companies got out.
So do you remember meeting Dave Liniger, the owner of RE/MAX Headquarters, LLC, and Gail, and what year was that? And
let's see, I think it was 76. I think, don't quote me on that. I can't remember. But anyway, yes, Dean Gaddis was the broker here on the west side, had a company called RE/MAX West, and we talked about acquiring his company and merging our agents in it and into it. And one of the provisions, of course, I had to be approved by RE/MAX as a franchisee, and so I met Dave and Gail and their beautiful dog that they had, in their office on a weekend, and we visited for about 4 or 5 hours straight. And so after that, it's all history. We got involved with Woodside and grew it, and had opportunities along the way with other RE/MAX offices, RE/MAX Evergreen, where there was a death, and they asked me to take over that.
Yeah, this is the sort of the slow accumulation of how your offices sort of grew, and how this became kind of bigger, more complex along time.
RE/MAX Boulder, they had a RE/MAX Boulder realty consultants in Boulder, not RE/MAX Boulder. There were some issues there financially, and we had an opportunity to take over that. Same thing with RE/MAX Central. We ended up, having these different companies with different names, and so we came up with a name alliance, and it grew from there. And
you remember what year that was that you went from RE/MAX West, which was 4 offices on the west side of town, to RE/MAX Alliance?
You're talking about 1979 or 80, along in there.
Well, you were RE/MAX West for
4 or 5 years.
Okay, and then you became Alliance after that.
Yes.
Yeah. So at that point, Woodside became a franchise owner.
Right.
With RE/MAX.
Right.
And Dean subsequently retired, sold you his franchise, and then as people were, having either financial troubles or they were just done running their offices, they would call you. Exactly. And they would say, "Do you want to come along and acquire my franchise and grow your Alliance brand?" Right?
Exactly. There was no plan for us to be the largest broker in the state or anything like that. It just happened.
Yes. And so as that got complex, how did you continue to grow the people around you as the business got bigger, as the volume got bigger, as you acquired more offices, and as things, because those of us who know you well know you have this ability to have this big existence, and still you know how to stop and visit, and you're not so busy. And it's interesting to me how somebody can become so successful and yet still find the time. And so I'm wondering, there's a lot there, but I'm curious about, as the business grew,
Sure.
how you maintained your authenticity.
Well, I think there's an old adage that you expand in direct proportion to your depth in management. And I have been blessed with good people in our company. We've had a tremendous talent and talent in different ways, in home building, in mortgage, the whole opportunity. And
So let me go back. You said you expand to the depth of your management.
yes,
Meaning you surrounded yourself with very competent people.
we had a lot of talented people that could become managers and did become managers, and they had the same desire and dream that I did, is to serve the public with the best product and the best results that you could expect.
Sure.
And so, and residential real estate is multifaceted. It's not just selling the house. You've got to have the title work in the mortgage company, the insurance, and we knew at an early age that to be successful, we had to do more than just list and sell houses.
Yeah, that's right. So born of that was your affiliated arrangement with Wells Fargo.
That was our first, joint venture
Joint
with
venture.
The
That's right.
mortgage company.
And
Yes.
so how did that change what you were doing?
I don't know if it really changed things. It gave us some depth and some resources to use the opportunity to grow, and we were competitive.
Yeah.
Our agents have been competitive with good product, both, in just the brokerage business and education and all of the things. But in the same way with our insurance company, we were blessed with talent in the insurance business, and they've grown, and it's a need. It's part of the transaction, and it works very well.
What do you think makes the brokers that have worked for your company and subsequently worked for you throughout the years? You've built a really successful company, and you've maintained a really successful company for a very long time. And that's actually hard to do. You can see people who have short bits of success, but to have long success over a long period of time. What do you think it is that makes the brokers that worked for you, or subsequently those people who managed for you, be able to stand this test of time? Like, why do you think that agents here are different? What sets them apart in the industry?
Well, there's a lot of good real estate agents with a lot of different brands. And there is tough competition out there. We all know that.
Yep.
But if one believes in themselves, and they believe in what they're doing, and they believe where they're doing it is right, the chances for success are much more than the uncertainty where the grass is always greener and should we go here or there. Or the agents, there again, just like our clients, know whether the management and the company care about them.
Yeah.
And hopefully we've communicated, through our actions and other, everything that we offer, that we do care about them. We don't always make the right decision. We learn from our agents, and we listen to them, on what they're needing to be competitive.
So step into the dynamic where you and your son, Chad, start working together. And actually your daughter, Christy, was involved in some of your businesses too.
Yes.
And so tell me what that was like for your kids to join you in real estate.
Well, I think both of them felt that they would never want to be in the real estate business. They probably saw the long hours that I had, and there's a lot of other ways to make a living. But they tested the waters. They came in. Both of them are very talented in many ways. And, right now, the way Chad has taken the company and run it, I'm not involved at all anymore. But he's got many more strengths in what he does today than I ever would have.
I think every father says that about their kids, and I think that's true. It's interesting. You and Chad are, in my humble opinion, you're both very even-keeled, and I think that that's probably been one of your strengths. And I think Chad emulates that well.
Well,
that he's very even-keeled.
And there are a lot of things that can go wrong with a real estate transaction, and there's a lot of things that, are bumpy along the way in this business. And once again, with Chad surrounding himself, being involved nationally with a lot of other brokers, you learn from the best, and you can steal ideas and try to make them your own, or you can, have your own ideas. Either way, it doesn't make any difference as long as you get the good results.
Yeah. A lot of people want to get into real estate.
Yes.
What do you think some of the pitfalls or some of the traps are for people, or the misconceptions about this business? I know I'm picking up on that because you talked about the long hours that you worked. And what did that look like as a life for you, both the misconceptions of the business and maybe some of the brilliance of real estate and its flexibility and so forth? What did that look like for you?
Somebody told me once when I got in, when I was getting into the real estate business, I didn't know this, and then later on, I felt that it was probably true that your success in the real estate business is in direct proportion to the number of people that you know on a first name basis. Mm-hmm. So if you know a lot of people and you tell them you're in the real estate business and you ask for their business, you're going to get some business.
That's right.
But I've also seen people who have gotten off the plane and moved to Denver and didn't know anybody on a first name basis, but were disciplined to implement a plan of trying to get to know people by, quote, farming or, getting involved with whether it be their church or the Rotary Club or whatever.
Right.
And in a relatively short time, even though they're new to the area, they've become a great success.
Yeah. And so people who want to get into the business should be prepared to work hard and know a lot of people. It's really a people business.
Sphere of influence.
Sphere of influence. Knowing what you know now, what advice are you offering people who want to get into the business?
Well, know what the expectations are and the commitment level that you're going to need. You do need to be able to weather the storm if there is a dry spell and you're not doing well and you're living on commissioned income.
That's right.
So you have to be willing to understand that. And it's timing. I said some time ago that timing can make you look smarter than you are or dumber than you are, depending on the timing. So it's best not to take credit for how smart you are. You just give thanks that you had good timing. And if things don't work out, you say, well, it's not all my fault. I just had bad timing.
That's interesting. To that end, what was the project that you worked on that seemed to be just, in all the development work you've done, all of the, you've moved into skilled nursing communities and you're doing other things now. As you reflect back, what was the best project you did? Maybe not even in terms of success, but the most fun, the project that really stayed with you or the one that took you to another level. Do you have a project that stands out for you?
Developments that I've been involved in, there were several or a number of them that I was, very proud of, and they turned out fantastic. And I learned a lot from each one. But there was obstacles. One piece of ground right next to Westwood's golf course was a city dump, and I decided to buy it, and we moved the dump over and accomplished that, by putting all these ponds throughout the area because we had to get dirt to fill up the area where we took out the city dump. And you drive through Forest Springs now, and there's all these waterways, that it's just beautiful. But Westwood's golf course was one that I worked on, as everybody knows, who knows me, about 7 years, and it just about broke me. And I learned a lot, persistence and patience, and you keep on going, and finally you get to home base.
So, I mean, Westwoods as a subdivision now is, an iconic and wonderful 27-hole golf course, public
beautiful
golf course community where you and I live and where you've built your livelihood. And so, by far that project is so special.
It is.
Along the way, you have had challenges. What do you think some of those challenges have been? Maybe the hardest thing that you've done or the thing that maybe you wish you could have gone back and done differently? Are there any of those?
Not really. I mean,
everything's a teacher. Yeah.
Challenges are just a part of life.
Yeah.
And there again, we're dealt things that we don't like all the time. And I think daily, we've got to just live daily, live life at a day at a time, and take the challenges that we're dealt with and work your way through them.
Where do you think the industry is going? How do you think the business changes, maybe even beyond your years? What do you think real estate looks like in 10 or 15 or 20?
I should probably be asking you that question because you're in the trenches every day and you see what is happening. And there's always been changes. And there's a lot of dramatic changes, on the horizon coming your way. And I think you and other proficient real estate agents or brokers will adapt through these challenges and be just fine. Because the depth of the market is so, there is such a need for housing in the United States, and you're going to be real busy over the coming years.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think if I go even beyond that, where I see the business going, it almost breaks one of two ways. I think the business either goes, boy, I know there are some forces out there that would love to see the real estate agent not be a 1099 subcontractor anymore. As it stands right now, people who run real estate, either agents or brokerages in most cases, are self-employed. And, in that self-employment risk comes some of the opportunity at, taking tax write-offs and, some writing off cars or meals or travel and some things like that. And I know, the federal government in some ways would love for all of that to be taxed or not to exist. And so I think there's one way this goes is just that the 1099 subcontractor ultimately goes away. And I wonder, if that change were ever to really come to fruition, what are your predictions about that?
Well, we've danced around that issue for years.
Yeah.
There's been talk about that, and it was going to be mandatory and what you had to do and make everybody an employee and furnish them health insurance, etc. And it just, when it really comes down to it, I don't know that it really will change dramatically.
So is this a fair prediction that real estate salespeople will always work on a commission?
I don't know whether I can predict that because, but I believe that they should.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's worked for a long time.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't know any reason, unless it's just merely politics that why it would change.
Well, so that's where the two ways break, right? You either end up with somebody becoming an employee.
Yeah.
And I think the industry fought against that. I think even somebody like you fought against that. It sure would have been easy to make all of these real estate agents employees and collect all of the money and take all of the profit.
Yeah, and then you tell them what their hours are, and you tell them when they have to come to the office.
Yeah.
And what they should do and all of that because they're an employee, and they'll leave and won't work for you.
Right, but except the human condition or the human spirit is much more entrepreneurial than that, or at least there has to be a vein or a place for entrepreneurship.
Yes, there will be.
And the real estate agents, they're very entrepreneurial. And then now you're running senior homes or skilled care nursing homes.
Assisted living,
okay,
retirement communities.
Tell me how that came to be in your sort of later part of your career, how you ended up there.
Well, and that's the nice thing about real estate. There's so many different ways you can go, and it's something that I ran into 20-some years ago and looked at the possibility of where the need was going to be in the future, and it, with the aging baby boomers, when they come into that marketing time where they need assistance, there's going to be a real need there, and it's taken a while. And I have one facility that I built just over 20 years ago now, and it's very successful. And I built another one that was 10 years ago, and there's been a lot of overbuilding in that business in anticipation of the quote tsunami coming of the baby boomers reaching that retirement age. So in the next few years, there's even going to be more of a need. And so we, see ourselves expanding into that business and in the future to meet the need.
And so how do you spend your time day to day? What do you like to do? What are you doing for pleasure or for leisure?
Well, I still golf. I enjoy getting out and being with friends. There again, I consider myself a people person, so, I think the social activities that one has, getting together with people and staying active, at my age, that's something that I think I don't consider myself retired.
Yeah, you'll always work maybe, or what does that mean
well,
to you?
no, I don't. I really don't work. I enjoy what I do. And, I would not be spending time, looking to grow the business in the retirement communities if I didn't enjoy doing it.
Sure. Well, it's a fortuitous end to a long life of real estate development and working in residential spaces that you should own a place where, ultimately in the end you sort of set yourself up where you have a place you can go in the end, right?
I will be a resident there at some time, and we know that.
I'd like to reserve my room now too, please. Could I just put that down for a handful of years from now?
There are so many individuals, including yourself, that I'm so proud of the way they've developed and come along in the business, and that's been extremely satisfying to me to see the success of others in the business. And I enjoy that. I enjoy coming in our offices and seeing all of these friends of mine. It's, it's cliche to say you're family. You're not family. You're actually closer to a lot of our friends in the real estate business than we are to our family.
That can be true. Yeah, that can be true.
And we'd probably rather spend time with a lot of the cohorts in the biz instead of our family.
And that goes back to, you even said, spend time and doing the things that you love with the people that you enjoy being around.
Exactly.
Don't they say like your success can be seen in the people you spend, 5 people you spend the most amount of time with or something like that.
Exactly, and you're influenced by those people, yes.
Sure, yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking to me and just getting an opportunity to just sit and do this to honor this legacy that you've built in this company and to honor your hard work. And, it's interesting, from the seat I sit in, I get the privilege to sell all this house in this beautiful place in Colorado on the west side of the Denver metro area, and in a city that you had so much to do with some of the projects, the neighborhoods that exist here. And so when I get to go to a neighborhood like Rainbow Ridge or Westwoods and sell a house, in that there's this Chuck Ochsner legacy that lives in those. And so certainly for me as a practitioner and doing some of the stuff I'm doing right now, you've made such an impact in my life, both as a mentor and a friend and somebody who's given me really sage advice through the years.
I truly have been blessed with what we've been able to accomplish, and by all of the friends that I have as we've marched on this road.
Yeah, it's been good. Well, thank you for coming.
You bet.